The second largest and third largest bank runs in history happened last month. The government is taking steps to guarantee all deposits. That means more money printing. Thousands have approached Noble Gold Investments to secure their wealth with gold. Gold is the most stable asset outside of government control. Hurry and go to noblegoldinvestments.com to secure your wealth. Bag a free 5-ounce American the Beautiful coin if you qualify. noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. And we are live. Okay, can you guys hear me? Can Devon and Adonis hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I hear you.
Loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. Listen, it's the progress report, and it's a special episode because I think this is true, the most requested guest I've had since I started doing the show. Mr. Devon Stack is here every week since I started. Get Devon Stack. You got to get Devon Stack LP. LP, he's the only one who can uncuck your shill ass. How's it going, sir?
Well, I hope that's true, but yeah. Yeah, well, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you here. You know what's funny is actually I Googled you the other day, yesterday actually, and I would have sworn you were banned from YouTube because you stream on Odyssey, but your
Right.
YouTube channel came up and you just like willingly walked away from YouTube, huh?
Right. Yeah. No, it just when I saw them banning everything, I didn't want to be I didn't want to be influenced by the, I don't want to say this because they'll demonetize, because they were demonetizing every single video I did. And so I was just like, yeah, screw this place. And I went to D Live first, and then they demonetized me. Then I went to Trovo, and then they I don't know that they demonetized me, but they kicked off like Nick and Vince and a bunch of other people. And I just saw the writing on the wall, and Odyssey was at least, so far so good with that. I mean, I've been pretty happy with them so far. I don't know if they're happy with me, but I moved to that platform, and so far it's been pretty good. I mean, they've had their quirks, they've had little issues here and there, but a lot of that's probably just my ghetto rural internet too. So, but yeah, it's the YouTube channel is still there, but it's, I post to like the community page to let people know I'm live on Odyssey from time to time, but and I think technically the channel's still monetized. It's just that it didn't really matter because it would be monetized.
Every video
but I would
was
post a video,
yeah.
Right? And it was just they would demonetize it immediately, like within a second. So it was like, oh, great,
Yeah, my channel is currently on its third total demonetization. So I'm trying to get back in again. And of course, we also have Adonis Paul, somebody I'm not super familiar with. So correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you kind of got your start back in the morning Kumite days. Is that accurate or?
A little bit before that time, but yeah, that's when I guess around the 2015, 2016 timeframe, that'd be correct.
Yeah, that's when you first came on my radar anyways. Hey, what's going on with you had like a virtual cam, like avatar thing, and then you turned that off. Can we get that back?
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sick.
I do.
Now
that. I'm doing on my third year now of doing a live animated late night themed show. It's a clip show, but it's with a classic late night show theme. So, we've got the whole set. It's animated. It's, you can do a lot more fun things than you can do live. I can throw things at my DJ, murder him, all kinds of fun things.
Nice. Well, you're going to be right at home here because this is also a clip show. I just got some clips I'm going to play for you guys, and then we're going to talk about them. So if you want me to pause, feel free to start talking and I'll pause. Otherwise, we'll pause at the end of each clip, more or less. But I'm ready to get right into it if you guys are.
Yeah.
All right.
What was your reaction when you heard that your grandfather shot Ralph Yarl for ringing his doorbell?
I was disgusted. I thought it was terrible. Myself and my family stand with Ralph Yarl and seeking justice. This is a horrible tragedy. It never should have happened.
Folks are going to want to know, why are you speaking out and apparently against your grandfather?
It's the right thing to do. This country happens over and over again where people get away with killing unarmed, innocent black people. And I would have had the same energy for any other case like I've had over and over again in this country, like I said. But So it's the right thing to do. People need to speak out and not make any excuses for this kind of behavior and this violence.
So you said for killing innocent black people, the prosecutor in this case has suggested that there was a racial component to it. Do you believe your grandfather is racist?
I believe he holds racist tendencies and beliefs.
Why do you say that?
I just want to pause here and just I edited in these screenshots, and I just want to say I don't 100% know if these are real or fake. I found these on the internet, so take it with a grain of salt. But supposedly this is Clint's Twitter account.
He's just a stock American Christian male. It's older, that's just how they are. It's the conspiracies and weird random racist things they say, and it doesn't make sense, but they're just scared.
Okay, whoops. Apparently,
so I mean, is he white? Is that guy white? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
that is really the $1 million question, isn't it? He's either like a Sean King style black, or maybe he actually is part black. I couldn't actually tell you the truth about that.
I was trying to put together his genealogy in my head too, because I also know that this gentleman, the shooter's ex-wife, that he divorced 50 years ago. We saw a video on late nights, I believe last week when this first happened. She's speaking out against this guy now. Now, it's bad enough it's your ex-wife. I'm not going to believe anything your ex-wife has to say about you, but she's coming back from 50 years ago now. Like he's running for president and she's throwing a rape charge on him. I don't know. He's not very popular with his family. I can tell you that. I've also heard 2 stories on how this happened. Have you heard, did this kid just ring a doorbell, or did he open the door and just walk in?
I think according to the police statement, which was recorded, which was given by, what's his name? Not Ludwig, whatever the guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but anyway, the guy who shot Ralph, this is the statement he gave. He opened the door and Ralph had his hand on like the storm door. So there's 2 doors, right? There's like the glass one and then the wooden one or whatever. What's his name opens up the wooden one. He sees the black kid with his hand on the other door as if going to open the other door, and he just starts shooting right away. I believe that's the official story.
Now, is he in like a really rough neighborhood? Because, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I can understand it in a certain context. I mean, it seems a little, hair trigger in most circumstances. But is this like has he been broken into a bunch of times, or is he just like he saw someone trying to get in his house and just overreacted?
Yeah, are there any factors that justify this paranoia?
Well, I think that it's one of those situations where you can say it's kind of understandable. You see a strange young black kid on your door. I do know one thing. It was like 10:30 at night. So it was like kind of late at night too, like dark. And you see this guy and you don't know him. I don't think
just saw a pair of eyes and a smile, and he was
got there right before I did.
I don't think you can really justify the shooting. I think it's like, I don't know legally, but morally, I think it's really hard to argue that you should just shoot strangers just because they show up. So it's kind of like this thing where you can understand being like startled and scared, but he probably
he's 80s. How old is he? 80, like 85 or something?
Extremely old. Yeah, he's approaching 90. He's got an ex-wife from 50 years ago speaking out. So,
and he lives alone, or?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm guessing he probably doesn't have a lot of house guests.
Well, I heard, I don't know if this is true either, but I heard like he has like no trespassing signs and stuff like that. Like he's maybe a little bit of like a standoffish guy,
Well, yeah, it's late at night. If you're in a bad neighborhood, and you're an old man that doesn't have anyone there to protect you, you're watching what's been going on in the news in the last few years, which, I mean, I don't know if he has been, but it'd be hard to ignore, what's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that, it's well, I'll tell you one thing. If my grandpa had done that, I certainly wouldn't go on CNN and be like, and talk shit about him. I wouldn't be like, oh, he's a racist bastard. I would just say, grandpa's a little, he's a little quick to draw, and maybe this kid didn't deserve it or whatever, but grandpa, he is what he is. But the fact that this kid's turning against him, I think there, like I said, I think there's some kind of racial component to that too. If if it's his grandpa, there's certainly time for some admixture there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of these kind of like tragic things, like really unfortunate kind of accident. And then the media tries to turn it into this like, oh, white, it's racism. It's funny how every time there's a white person in one of these situations shooting, it's always some kind of gray area, quasi self-defense situation. Like the Ahmaud Arbery thing would be another example. Whereas there's like all the time you have black people killing white people for their like smartphone or whatever. And there's no big moral panic where it's just like totally unambiguous. You know what I mean? And there's no moral panic about that in the media. And speaking of which, that kind of like brings us into the next story.
Overnight, the suspect accused of opening fire on his neighbors over a basketball in North Carolina, surrendering in Florida. 24-year-old Robert Louis Singletary allegedly shot a family after a ball several children were playing with rolled into his driveway.
I know we got a 6-year-old, but the other subject is shot. He's got a single gunshot wound to the chest.
William White struck as he tried to deflect gunfire aimed at his 6-year-old daughter, Kinsley.
Why did you shoot my daddy and me?
White still in the hospital.
The degree to which...
Wait, his name is actually White?
The White father is named White, yes. And an additional piece of context to that story, this was reported in the New York Post, and I posted this on my Twitter. He said, the father, White, he said that while the guy was shooting them, the guy screamed, "I don't even like white people."
I believe it.
Yeah, that's not a surprising statement.
Will this be charged as a hate crime, do you guys think?
Probably not.
I highly doubt it.
Yeah, remember that disabled kid after Trump's election that the black kids kidnapped and tortured on Facebook Live?
I do remember that,
They didn't get hate crime.
They didn't?
No, they were going to because of some pressure, and then the prosecutor, who I think was black, was like, "No, they're just mixed up kids," and I think they're all walking around already. Like the old
Chicago mayor sentiment.
I don't think any of them are in custody anymore for kidnapping a disabled kid, holding him. That's like federal. That's kidnapping. That should be the FBI getting involved, right? But no, they're I think they're all walking around.
Yeah, that was a really rough story. So they have written some articles about, can they get this Lester, I think that's his name, the guy who shot Ralph, can they get him a hate crime charge, right? The media is kind of like pushing for that a little bit, even though there's not really, doesn't really seem like a lot to the case. But
I'll tell you this, it would be a lot easier to push a hate crime charge if they didn't belong to the demographic most likely to show up at my door at 10:30 p.m. to rob me.
Yeah.
That's also a problem that needs to be addressed.
Various government agencies had effectively had full access to everything that was going on Twitter blew my mind. I was not aware of that.
Would that include people's DMs?
Yes.
So this is a very short clip, but it's good for people to be aware of this, which is that like nothing you do on the internet is secure. There's always somebody who can access your DMs. Your email is pretty secure, but I would still be a little bit careful.
It's not.
It's not?
It's really not. No,
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, bottom line, anything that's communicated electronically is easy to read. They've got massive data centers in Utah, for one example, the NSA runs where they gobble up all internet traffic. And then what they say is, well, we don't look at it. We just suck it up. Mm-hmm. And then if we get a warrant, we can retroactively go back and look at your stuff. And so it's getting recorded. And as Snowden pointed out, that's not even true. They're not getting warrants. They're not looking at it retroactively because they have a warrant. There's no oversight. There's no process. There's lots of really iffy cases like Michael Hastings, who was telling his neighbor, "Hey, I need to borrow your car because they're trying to get me." And his neighbor's like, "No, you're crazy." So he gets in his car. Next thing you know, he rams in, his car, which has the ability to be accessed remotely, rams into a tree at like 200 miles an hour or whatever it was, and kills him. And he was doing those reports on at the time It was Obama's. I forget. But his national security people, and doing embarrassing stories at the time. There's hardware backdoors and a lot of Intel chips. Like Intel works hand in hand with the name's Intel, but with the Intel community, where they would actually put in hardware backdoors that I think the Linus, the guy who invented Linux, found on accident when he was trying to write software for Linux, and contacted Intel. Was like, what's this I just found? Like, there's this weird set of instructions in one of your processors that's not documented, and they got like really weird about it. And so this is an ongoing thing that I guarantee you, no matter how secure you think your network is, whatever kind of encryption you're using, I'm sure there's encryption they can't get past, but it's kind of like, well, you don't know what 0 days they have that haven't been documented. You have no idea what backdoors that are out there that haven't been documented. So if you're communicating digitally, it's just better to assume it's
just act like it's public. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just to add to that, when I was in my early 20s, like 16, 17 years ago, I worked tech support for MSN and in a call center, right? Just like answering calls and helping people fix their internet, their dial-up internet or whatever. After 6 months of working there, I got promoted to like a level 2 agent. So I was earning about $9 Canadian per hour, which is about $6 American. And at that level 2, they gave me a tool which I could pop in anybody's Hotmail email address and set the password to anything I wanted. Yep. And there was no oversight. So when you say there's no oversight, it's not just like a federal agent can look at your stuff. There's like people making minimum wage who sometimes like people at Twitter who are making like probably $12 an hour who can go in and read your DMs.
Put in the God mode code and they can do whatever they want. Yeah, no, that's an ongoing thing. I worked for a tech company several years ago. It was the same. I could read anyone's email. It was not a difficult thing, and just anyone at tech support had that. And then we're talking like there was probably at least 1,000 people that had the same job that I did with the same level of access. And this was a pretty big company. And so you're not secure that way. In fact, there's that famous photo of Mark Zuckerberg. He's talking from one of Facebook's labs. And he's got the electrical tape over the camera, and like that microphone, pigtailed plugged in. And then when we found, or I think this was during the WikiLeaks, they found that one of the ways they were communicating, Democrats were communicating to each other. So, which means that they know that Gmail is being read. They would write a draft email and then not send it. And then the other person would log in and read the draft and then delete the draft. So there was no it was never a sent message that would go in the sent folder or whatever. But the very fact that we found out about that means that there's still some kind of, I don't want to say digital paper trail, I guess, but yeah, nothing secure, like in terms of, unless you write unless you're using like Temple OS or something, like you're pretty much screwed.
And what about what's your take on Musk? Like he did give you your Twitter account back, but let me guess, he's bad. Is that right? Or
well, I mean, look, I don't know. I kind of get mixed. I don't want to say he's bad because I feel like that's too binary, right? Mm-hmm. I think he's a rich kid, and I just, quite frankly, if you come from the kind of money that he comes from, I just don't trust you. Because I think, and that applies to Tucker, the guy interviewing him, if you come from that kind of money, you no longer identify as, and look, what is he? Is he American? Is he Canadian? Is he South African? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he identifies with any kind of nation or any kind of people. He identifies with a class. And so his loyalties are to that class. Like the other day, people were geeking out because he replied to a tweet about demographics. So, demographics are destiny.
I saw that.
And everyone started saying, "Oh, look, he's going 1488." And it's like, no, he was replying to demography data, first of all. And second of all, he's talked about this several times where, he certainly, I think IQ matters to him, but it has there's no like racial component to it. He just thinks that we need high IQ people operating, these kind of companies that he runs. and compared to China and India, you know, we're lagging behind on the population, you know,
Right.
for that. So, yeah, like I said, I don't think it's as simple as bad or good. I just don't think his interests will ever really align with mine. I think I can relate to him about as easily as he can relate to me. You know, like he grew up very wealthy, and I mean, he started, what was it, like PayPal with
Yes.
Peter Thiel and stuff. And then I put this out on Telegram the other day. It was just, I was doing a stream specifically about that tweet where he talked about the demographics or destiny, and just out of curiosity, because I'd heard, you know, people saying, oh well, he's got a particular tribal background, we'll say ethnically, right? And so I asked ChatGPT, you know, does his heritage include this particular tribe? And it said, you can look at my Telegram if you want. Its reply was yes, through his mother.
I saw that on Twitter, yeah.
And now I don't know if that's ChatGPT getting something wrong, because I couldn't get it to give me any references that I could check out to back that up. But you know, it's, you never know with these people, and I think that a lot of it really isn't even all that relevant, because like I said, I think he identifies more with a class than he does, you know, any kind of ethnicity.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. All right. Let's just keep it pushing here.
I will say this, if I can.
Right. Okay. This clip. Yeah. So speaking of our interests and things of that nature,
right.
You know, one of the unfortunate aspects of this show is I collect clips all week. I put my Can't Stop Progress show out on Sunday. Then usually we do this on Tuesday. We had to push it back a couple days because I had something going on Tuesday. But like we're kind of a little bit behind the news cycle. We have a 24-hour news cycle where the big thing is like Tucker got fired from Fox, and we're a little bit behind. But this is still an important clip, so I'm glad we're going to talk about it here.
Just make one prediction. So the United States is becoming non-white. Everyone's excited about it. Or whether you're not excited about it, it doesn't matter. Whites are going to be in the minority. So what that means soon. So what that means is you're going to get at some point, probably in my lifetime, people standing up and saying, I represent white people. I'm the candidate of the white voter.
Right.
And I just want to say on the record that I'm going to tell that person to fuck off, because nobody speaks. I'm an adult man, and nobody speaks for me because he shares the same skin color as me. Like, I just reject that entire idea. If I agree with you, I'll let you speak for me. And if I don't, I won't. But this idea that someone of a certain skin color, any skin color, or any ethnic background speaks automatically on behalf of all people who share that skin color, ethnic background, is a Nazi idea, and I'm totally opposed to it. And I will be opposed to it when it happens to me. When
It's not a very well thought out philosophical argument about identity politics and group interests, is it? It's kind of like a basic thing that is sort of no one is saying that. No one is saying just because person A has white skin means they can talk for everybody.
Well, that's the thing though, is I don't think he believes that either. He's reducing ethnicity to something aesthetic. And that's just the way that the boomer audience perceives race, you know, and that's what they've always.
Race is only skin deep crowd,
right? He's trying to, but what he's trying to say is, like, if a white Jesse Jackson, because, you know, back in the day, Jesse Jackson, black leader, you know, and lots of Republicans would always complain, like, what's a black leader exactly? And their base black friend would come on and be like, well, he doesn't talk for me. And Tucker's just trying to make that same argument, and acting as if ethnicity is just strictly, it's just an aesthetic thing. But the other thing is, he's demonizing people that want to pool together their resources in order to protect their interests. And like I said, same thing with Elon, Tucker's interest in his loyalties do not lie with a particular ethnicity so much as a class of people. I mean, his book, Ship of Fools, is literally that. It's literally a warning. He did an interview with Adam Carolla where he said as much. He said, this book is a warning to the ruling class that if you don't start throwing some table scraps at the poor people, the pitchforks are going to come out. And that's very important to this guy. I mean, this guy's so rich. I read an article like a year ago where he and his brother found out that, imagine finding out, like, because you just forgot about it. Like, this is how much money you got. That he had $20 million worth of property in California that he didn't know that he inherited at some point. And so there was like some legal battle. Oh, I guess I had this $20 million of property in California. But so he's got the Swanson, like the Swanson frozen foods. He's an heir to that fortune.
Right.
He grew up in that same interview. In fact, so he's talking about how he grew up in L.A. And Adam Carolla, who's also from L.A., was like, "Oh, what part of L.A. are you from?" And Tucker's like, I forget the actual name of the neighborhood, but Adam Carolla goes, "Oh, we used to call it Hebrew Heights." And because that's where all the rich Jews lived. And he said, "Yeah, well, that's where I'm from." And he literally said, "That's where I get my politics from." And you have that coupled with the fact that his dad was a CIA agent who literally was in charge of producing propaganda for Zionist neocons. And his official backstory is that after college, he went to the CIA to get a job, and they turned him down. But then next thing you know, he's getting like every media job that he applies for, and he's just moving up the ranks. He's the one that gave us Rachel Maddow her first job. He's the reason Rachel Maddow, the name Rachel Maddow, because he hired her.
MSNBC.
I mean, it's just and that's to ignore the fact that he wears a Kabbalah bracelet when he's on the air all the time, including that big speech he did right before getting fired from Fox that everyone was sharing clips about. Like, oh, look, he's talking about giving the truth to power. And it's like, dude, he is the power, first of all, and second of all, where do his loyalties lie? I mean, certainly not. His interest is in not having a pissed off working class, because they're going to go after his stuff. Like if they get sufficiently angry, they're going to go after his stuff. And I think that's 100% what motivates Tucker Carlson. And, again, he's got a history of doing this sort of thing, from when he was on MSNBC, and just kind of gatekeeping, as far as I can tell. When the 9/11 stuff, Building 7, everyone's seeing like the footage of Building 7, dropping it at free fall or whatever, right? He had a guest on there, wouldn't show the footage, and you can find this clip. It's on YouTube somewhere. It's from I believe 2005, and basically called him evil for even suggesting that anything other than the official story took place. And he did the same thing with Ron Paul when Ron Paul was running for president, and Ron Paul started to like dip his toe in that controversy.
Yeah.
He immediately went after Ron Paul and was saying, "Oh, he's a truther now, and you just can't trust him. He's siding with the crazies." And so I can't trust people that come from that kind of money. Their interest is in preserving that wealth.
AP, do you have thoughts on the Tucker clip we just watched?
I agree with everything he just said. I don't trust Bill. I think that in order to obtain $1 billion, you have to crush a few lives. For better or for worse, you have to do that to get that kind of money. And the only thing that people with that kind of money really have in mind is protecting their interests, which are not my interests. I don't trust billionaires. I don't trust millionaires. Tucker might throw me a bone every once in a while, but he wouldn't acknowledge me in a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter that he felt comfortable emailing Hunter Biden, who he claimed was a good friend of his, asking him to help get his son into some elite school. I mean, that email came out on the Hunter laptop. Right. Tucker saying, "Hey, buddy, help my boy get into school." And then there's, I mean, look, I'm not going to get all. I'll leave some of the other things out, but just because we're on YouTube, but there's other stuff too.
Yeah. Hey, people do say Tucker is personable. Maybe he would acknowledge you in a restaurant, AP. Who knows? And I know it's cringe to point out hypocrisy and stuff like that, but Tucker said, it's wrong if a white person talks for white people. It's wrong if you do it for any race. So I wanted to watch a little bit of this. This is from 6 months ago, October 2022. Tucker talking about the Black Congressional Caucus. Let's see if he holds to that principle he espoused, that any kind of racial group interest is a Nazi idea. What would person play?
Well, the Congressional Black Caucus says its mission is to, quote, we read the website, ensure that African Americans and other marginalized communities in the U.S. have the opportunity.
Oh, you guys can't hear it? No. Okay, let me... Yeah, I had this problem once before. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I had this problem once before, and what I need to do is share it a slightly different way, which will will mess up the display a little bit.
We can play a game where I just, we voice what we think Tucker's saying.
You play the video. I got it here. It's going to put our avatars off a little bit, but other than that, it's fine. All right.
To achieve the American dream. Okay, well, that sounds positive. But in fact, the Congressional Black Caucus is completely corrupt, as everyone who lives in Washington knows. But worse than that, it's just a political action committee designed to elect Democrats. They don't care about African Americans and marginalized communities, of course. And we know that for many reasons, but here's the latest. They are currently backing a white Democrat over Jennifer Ruth Green, who's running for Congress in Indiana. Jennifer Ruth Green joins us tonight. Jennifer Ruth Green, thanks so much for coming on. Now, you would think you're African American. The Congressional Black Caucus would be, I guess, on your side. It's a race-specific group, but why aren't they backing you?
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Carlson. The hypocrisy in this decision is so incredibly clear. We see that this is about power, and this is about policy. This is about process. This is not about progress. These are the liberal elites who want to have power and are focused on retaining it. And so their decision to back my opponent is hypocritical at best. Because largely, when you think about the fact that I understand the Black cultural experience better than any white man ever will, I understand.
Yeah, that statement alone, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he doesn't push back. I was going to play it a little bit more just to prove, but he doesn't like tell her like, well, come on, that's
what are you talking
racist.
about? The race is just skin deep. What's this Black experience you speak of? Black culture.
Well, for a significant portion, this one, the criminal justice system.
Sorry, what was that, AP?
I said for a significant portion of them, the criminal justice system. You're asking what the Black experience is in America.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So anyway, all right. We don't need to.
Is that an urn behind him?
It does look like an
Who's
urn.
in there?
It looks like it could have some ash in there. Yeah.
What happened? Someone's gonna, white people. And I'm gonna be like, I don't even know you, dude. I don't even know you. I refuse to allow you to purport to speak for me because we look the same. Period.
Yeah. Anyway, my last 2 cents on that is it's just a little bit frustrating because you can't dismiss the conversation by this kind of childish logic of like, well, yeah, your skin doesn't dictate your behavior or whatever. Yeah, we all know that. The more pertinent question is like, do white people have a group interest? And you have to go one way or the other. You can't say you can have all of these other groups working for their ethnic interests and then say, but not white people. Everybody except white people can do that, right? It has to be either nobody does it or everybody does it.
But I think he's being honest though when he says, I don't know you, dude. He doesn't know what the white experience is. He doesn't know what the white cultural reality is. Like those videos we watch getting shared around, like when people are in public transportation, encountering diversity in a violent way, that's not happening to him and his kids. Like he has no idea what that's even like. In fact, I worked in DC for a few years and up close and personal with a lot of these types. And the fact of the matter is they are not exposed to diversity in the same way. And in some instances, it's not nefarious. Like, I want to get rid of white people because I hate them. It's more like they don't know.
Naive.
They don't know like lower class non-whites. Let me put it that way. If you're in a job, if you've gone to top, schools and you were in all the top fraternities, all the people come from families that have at least a few $1 million in the bank, then the only diversity are of that status, right? And so you think that when a lower class white says, I have a problem with these other groups, that it is just the ignorance. Oh, you're just being racist. You just don't like the way they look. And it's because all the Black people I know are millionaires, and it's like, well, that's all well and good, but that's not those aren't the people that are assaulting my family on the subway. So I just think he just doesn't get it. Like, well, I don't know if that's
the same problem as everybody else in Hollywood or entertainment. They live in their neighborhoods and they don't understand what people are going through every single day on this. So he's not in the same group as us. The only Black people they know in Hollywood are like Rihanna and Oprah.
Right.
So last thing I'll put to you guys on the Tucker Carlson question. Now he's free from Fox. Are we expecting like more based and better Tucker? he unleashed Tucker or because I saw somebody comment and it seemed kind of true, is that a lot of times when you see Tucker say things like what we just saw, kind of cringe things, a lot of times it's on like a podcast or whatever.
Yeah, when it's not scripted by his producer.
It's on the podcast, it's presumably not, right? Whereas
that's what I'm saying. When he's off the cuff, when he's being interviewed, that's when he says like the lamest stuff. Because
so are we going to predict that him being free from Fox is actually an improvement, or is it actually like his writers that were doing the good stuff?
No, they absolutely were. Remember, there was that scandal with one of his writers because they found his 4chan posts. Remember, he was talking about. He was being a little edgy, we'll just say. So they actually fired the guy. Right. I would say that's part of it. The other part of it is, so a lot. I got pushback on from various people when I mentioned the problems with Tucker, and one of the things they would always say, well, why would they fire him then if he's a gatekeeper or whatever? And my response is simply, you really think that the future of gatekeeping is on cable news? Like that's the demographic that goes to cable news to get their information is dying at an alarming rate.
Joe Rogan's bigger than cable news. Yeah.
Right. People are watching stuff online. They're not going to, I haven't even had cable in like a decade, I don't know anyone that has cable. And so it's just not the future in terms of where people are be getting their information. So I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying, just as a possibility, by firing him, they give him street cred because now I'm banned. I got banned by the big evil Fox News, and now I'm online. And I just think that's a possibility. It could be something else. He could, maybe he has ambitions to run for president, that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Or it could just be, honestly, that's the other thing. I think people make the mistake of thinking like, well, why would they fire him if he's in on it? It's like, it's not like they're all this monolithic, they're not like the Borg, where there's like one, thought process that's governing all of their actions. There's just as much as there's infighting on the right, between different thought leaders or whatever. They're human. It's a human institution. They have just as much going on over there. And it really could be as simple as just the Murdochs didn't like him or whatever. Right. You just had that case with Dominion or whatever, where they had to do a big payout. It could be, it could be fallout from that. Who knows, right? Or it could be there was articles going out that he was personally attacking the other people that he worked with and used the C word and whatever. And who knows, right? It could really be something as stupid as that.
All right. Well, the thing you said about him, his writers being the actual good people, that's a little bit blackpilling. I think everybody was hoping for Tucker to, save America or whatever, or end the media. But let's move on to the next thing. Speaking of blackpilling, this clip here is pretty rough too, I got to tell you.
But with her, I'm worried about like her mental well-being.
Oh God.
And her dilation.
Oh God, dude.
That's just for context. That's Jazz Jennings' mother.
I've seen this. This is horrifying.
Yeah, we already covered this on late night too. Yep.
She leaves my house. We have a dilation problem.
That is a concern. When you don't have that watchful eye, they tend to go back to old patterns.
I have woken Jazz out of a dead sleep and taken the dilator and put the lubrication on it and said, "Here, you take this and you put it in your vagina. If not, I will." But Jazz is bad, even when I'm home once a day. I would be so mad if she goes away to college and that thing seals up. I would wring her neck.
That's great.
It's not like the dog, son. You're actually going to have to follow up and take care of your vagina.
I feel like there should be a death metal band called Dilation Problem.
We have a mother here who's concerned that they now have to discipline their son by standing over them and making sure that their son dilates their vagina correctly. America, 2023.
When you think about it's hard not to see it as just like absolutely abusive,
Well, honestly, this is why I named my channel back when I was still on YouTube Blackpilled, because one of the things I say often when people say, "Oh, it's getting better because this one thing this week in the news was positive," it's like you have to zoom out the graph. Like if you're if you're buying Bitcoin or any kind of crypto and you see like a green candle go up and you're like, ooh, buy, because you're looking at increments of 5 minutes, you're going to lose all your money pretty quick. You got to zoom it out and look at the larger trends and see where that's going. And with stuff like this, I mean, you go back to it was the 90s. It was a scandal when they had a character on, like, it was Murphy Brown was going to be a single mom. Oh, wow. That's, the vice president, Dan Quayle, went out and spoke out against it. It was like, oh, this is moral decay. We're going to
the Roseanne lesbian kiss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And Ellen had to still be in the closet when she had the Ellen show. And that was like a big deal back then. And now this is primetime television. Now it's, it didn't take that long. I mean, we're talking like 30 years later. So, I mean, people just, especially Zoomers, where they've grown up steeped in this, they don't see how, they don't know what they're missing, I guess is what it is. They don't know how bad it is because they don't know how less bad, I guess.
They have no point of reference for a world without the internet, where all the worst ideas in the world are drug up to the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the internet has definitely, because I remember when the internet was the Wild West. I mean, a lot of this horrible stuff existed, but no one knew about it. It was
there was no moderators banning us for telling the degenerates they're degenerate. We could every time one of those gophers would poke their head out of the hole, we could bash them back down where they belong. But now
they're the ones that are the mods for these platforms.
Now they have the mallets,
especially on Reddit.
Yeah, right.
Imagine.
Heidi Van Tassel was walking to her car near Hollywood's Walk of Fame when, according to police and court records, a transient with schizophrenia and psychotic disorders dumped feces all over her.
A bucket of his diarrhea. It was liquid, hot liquid. I was soaked, and I couldn't see. It was coming off of my eyelashes into my eyes.
Paramedics rushed her to the
That's
hospital.
That's the lyrics to the song that the band
dilation problem. Homeless attacks.
Their big hit. Yeah. Burning hot feces.
She now needs to be tested for infectious diseases every 3 months.
It's something I won't ever forget. It was disgusting. It's so traumatic. Sorry.
See, the thing that drives me crazy about that, though, is you'll see that clip and the response that I've seen from a lot of right-wing boomers will be like, "Well, she voted for it. She deserves it because she voted for it." And like, I get it, right? But this is the problem. It's like at a certain point, you got to start sticking up for your own people. At a certain point, you have to be like, "Yeah, that's great, all right." But it's like the Tim Pool. He shared that clip of that white woman that got beat up by the crowd of black kids, right? And he was like, she deserves it because these are the policies she supported. I'm like, really? She voted to have black people in her neighborhood? Like, when was that on the ballot? Like that's not, I don't think that's a policy she specifically supported. And language like that's not exactly going to win people over. You're not going to be getting anyone to like start looking at the root of these problems by just sitting there mocking them and saying, "Oh, well, that's what you got."
Yeah. The white liberal woman has been ridiculed quite a lot, and it's probably not the most helpful meme. I agree with that.
Yeah, well, I understand it, but it's just like, because they look. Let's face it, they do deserve it, right? They deserve to be mocked and shamed or whatever. But does it work? Does it productive? Are these white women now suddenly going, "Oh, you're right. I'm suddenly never going to vote for these policies again"? No, of course not. Like, people are so brainwashed. I mean, you have a epidemic of every time, just like a few years ago, you'd always have these stories of like an illegal immigrant would kill this innocent white lady walking to work or whatever, and the families the next day saying like on camera, like, "Well, I just don't want people to start not liking immigrants because of this." And it's like, they raped your daughter to death, man.
Yeah.
And so mocking them doesn't seem to be getting through to them. I don't know what the answer is, but I just
mocking them maybe would be okay, if not inferring that she deserves to have hot diarrhea poured on her by a hobo.
Right.
Being like, "Hey, what you said on Twitter just now was really stupid," is different from being like, "Well, you voted Democrat, so you should have a hobo pour a bowl of hot diarrhea on your head. And my sentiment, me saying this in public, is certainly going to change your mind and get you to vote a better way."
Yeah,
you'll
agree with me now.
the same thing the liberals do is what we're kind of starting to engage in, if we haven't been doing it for a very long time now, which is counterproductive. The liberals they'll protest in a way where you walk away from that protest hating them and everything they're about. If you block traffic and make people late, it doesn't matter if you're being an activist for the purest cause. Everyone is going to hate you and what you're about. It's like they missed that part in kindergarten about the difference between good and bad attention.
Right. Well, it's not just black people who act unruly in restaurants and stuff like that. This happens with all races. And today I have a special treat. I have the mythical unicorn of the Asian chimp out. Are you guys ready for this?
That was not dog.
She slams the tray down and the food like landed in the tray, and then she's just like, all right, whatever.
I'm not picking that up.
Yeah.
Recording this shit too, bro.
Okay, cool. What's your back?
Stop. Why you right? Yo, bro. Why are you doing that to him?
Where are the traffic stop right now?
Why are you doing that to him? Why? What did he do wrong? You just knocked it. Yo, y'all see that, right?
There you go. Now get back in the car. Like I told you already.
You see what he did, right? Yeah. Look, all the drug dealers down the street. Just relax. Go fucking lock one of them up. Relax. Y'all see that, right? Go lock one of them up. Go lock one of them up.
Don't search me. You ain't
stop
for no reason.
Stop. He ain't got nothing on. Yo, thank you, brother. I'm putting this shit on new. I'm doing this too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep, thank you.
Get back in your car.
Stop, bro.
Thank you. Why you putting me out my car? Why you dragging me? Get out of your car.
You dragged me for what?
Okay.
I'm watching it. I got it recorded too. Y'all recording it too. I'm recording it. You ain't do shit. Bro, just go back. Number. Just go back. No.
Back up, dude. You're interviewing with a police investigation.
What you mean? You gonna slam me too like you did him? He didn't do shit. And you let him do that, because if he wanted to slam you, he'll slam the shit out of you, my man. Fuck out of here. If he wanted to slam you, he'll slam you too. Fuck out of here. He would have slammed you.
Probably could trim this one down a little bit. I forgot how long it is.
You block traffic too.
Do we know what led up to that?
It appears to be a traffic stop, and the officer got what happened was, at the start of the video, the guy who was being stopped, he got out of the car, and the cop was like, "What are you doing? Get back." And the cop grabbed the guy and kind of like threw him back towards the car. The other guy was like already filming, so I don't know what happened obviously before he started filming, but that's all on the video. And then it just becomes the guy who's filming basically being belligerent. And the main reason I included this video here, I'll mute it and keep playing it because I think you guys get the general idea. The main reason I included this was because on Twitter, this was like a huge thing where everybody was saying like, oh, this is because the cops are racist, and why do they need, this is in Boston, by the way, like Boston PD so racist, like everybody was just like against the cops. And it's one of those things where you feel like, am I the only person here who's like just like, why don't you just not be an asshole, you know?
No, I was waiting for you to say this was a racist thing. When I was a younger man, when I didn't know better, I was young, I got pulled over by a state trooper. I got out of my vehicle to go talk to the state trooper. He immediately pulled a gun on me and told me to freeze. So I'm here standing with my hands up, my keys in one hand, slowly putting them to the ground. Then he explains to me, you never get out and approach an officer's vehicle. They're assuming you're attacking them.
Yeah.
So that's why that guy got thrown to the ground. He was getting out of, you don't get out of the car and approach the cop during a traffic stop, dum-dum. And that goes for me at 22.
You're fine to do it here.
I've never understood the behavior that seems to be, I don't want to say universal, but very common in these cases where it's like, because same with me, I got pulled over. I didn't know what to do when I got pulled over when I was a kid, but I knew not to, be threatening.
Don't reach for shit. Don't look like you're going to
be
do
belligerent. Not disobey orders from the guy with the gun.
Well, what's funny is they have this thing, the talk. Have you heard of that? How it's like if you're black, a parent, at some point you have to have the talk with your kid where you sit your kid down and you tell them like, hey, this is like the police might come after you because you're black or whatever. Shouldn't part of that talk include like, don't argue with the police?
Yeah, well, don't give them a reason.
Well, it probably has the opposite effect. Like if my parents, which they didn't ever give me a talk like that. What the talk they gave me was, hey, always respect police. They're here to protect us and whatever, If they had told me, hey, if they Devon, if they pull you over, they might kill you. I might be a little freaked out when I get pulled over. I might be like, oh, this guy's going to kill me. And I might do something crazy because I think I'm going to die. And so I think the talk is probably maybe causing some of this. Like it's the wrong kind of talk.
Yeah, we gotta figure out what exactly is going on in these talks.
Well,
it's not working, whatever it is.
There's also an element that never gets discussed, which is if you were a soldier in Iraq and you came back from Iraq and the last 10 guys who had tried to kill you looked a certain way and are from a certain culture, and you got back to America and you were a little, let's say, paranoid around Arab people, they would have programs for you to be able to work. They'll be able to treat you for that paranoia. Well, what happens when the last 10 guys to shoot at a cop were black and suddenly he's a little jumpy around black people, which is going to be natural if the last 10 people that's human nature. What resources do they have for him? Call him a racist and fire him from his job.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like about that clip on Twitter, like a lot of the comments were just like, "Why are there so many cops?" Because a bunch of like more backup showed up, right? And I was just, and I see that, and I think for their safety, you know what I mean? Because I don't know if you're going to start shooting at them. Like, who cares? Who cares if there's 12 cops at a traffic stop? It wouldn't be an issue if you just like gave your license and did whatever he asked you to do. You know what I mean?
It didn't. We say it on late night all the time. It didn't have to go down this way. There's so many times, like even when the cops are wrong, it doesn't have to escalate. You don't argue your rights with the cop. You argue your rights with a judge.
Yes.
Well, this has been an ongoing cultural problem anyway. Just because Chris Rock did that sketch back in like the late 90s about what not to do when you get pulled over, and to sum it up, it was just showed like a black guy, he gets pulled over and the cop's like, let me see your license. He's like, fuck you, and he gets pulled out of the car and arrested or whatever. And they go through different scenarios like that, and people are laughing because everyone knows that's the behavior that a lot of cops encounter when they pull over a black person for just something normal.
Yeah, and it doesn't. If you're white and you go that route, it's probably not going to work out too good for you.
Yeah, no, I've seen enough episodes of Cops to know that like white guys sometimes do this too, and they suffer the same fate.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not at the same frequency.
Yeah, but the difference culturally between us, we have no one to blame it on. We just have to accept responsibility for our own behavior and learn from it.
Yeah, and I think that is to our benefit in a way, right? Like having to be responsible for for bad things that happen to you is probably healthy, I think.
Absolutely. That's why we're not repeat offenders.
You are the job.
Hey, shut your mouth. Don't shout. I fuck you right here, motherfucker. You don't know me. Don't motherfucker try to be smart ass. I fuck you right here. Motherfucker. How much you pay? $50? You motherfucker you are. You respect yourself. You are fucking fuck you.
I fuck you right here.
There are a couple of great things about this video. One of which is that guy is some kind of government official. I don't remember off the top of my head who he is, but he is a very important man in his country. And just the potency of Arab threats, not fuck you, but I will fuck you right here in the airport, right here on the concourse. Make sure
I fuck you bloody. I fuck you bloody.
How far are you willing to take this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hug me, yes. Fuck me, man. Let's talk.
Hi, Matt Walsh. First of all, I want to applaud you for your work on exposing the trans agenda that is destroying this nation. But I do have a question regarding a blog post from 2013 that you wrote titled, "Bow Before Israel Unless You're an Anti-Semite," in which you made quite a few bold statements such as, "Are we now denying that a Jewish lobby exists?" And you said it makes zero sense for United States citizens to be ideologues when it comes to Israel. Now, ever since you joined the Daily Wire in 2017, you maintained radio silence on the issue of the Jewish lobby. You had nothing to say when Ben Shapiro tweeted in 2021 that if you have trouble taking sides with Israel against Hamas, you should not be taken seriously as a human being. Do you stand behind your previous statements about the existence and influence of a Jewish lobby that seeks to undermine America's national interests?
I believe, I actually have not changed my view at all. I have in fact said many times that, and I disagree with Ben. Ben Shapiro would disagree strongly with this, and we do disagree with each other. That's okay, we're allowed to. It's one of the great things about working for the Daily Wire. I don't think there should be any foreign aid of any kind. I am in favor of I'm in favor of revoking all foreign aid to all countries, because for a number of reasons, but for me the first reason is it's hard for me to see how it's not a violation of
Wow, he is so nervous
without representation.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, he's kind of navigating it in a not. I actually haven't seen this clip all the way through, so I don't know how it ends. But he's at least, he's not totally cucking out, but like at the same time, you can tell like he is trying to keep his job right now. This
He's
is 100%
tiptoeing right now. Yeah.
How do I not get fired right now?
Just say it, Matt. Say no
we're taking
foreign aid
tax
to
money from
Israel.
American
Say
citizens.
it.
I mean, he didn't say no foreign aid to anyone, which technically.
Oh, that's different. That's like walking in the room and saying, all of you need to quiet down and not
Yeah.
just pointing at
that's
the
like
one
saying
kid
all
who needs
lives
to quiet
matter.
Yeah. All lives matter, but there's a specific issue with Black lives.
Yeah, let's just
We're
say it,
giving
Matt,
to
just
foreign
once.
governments. And obviously, we're not being represented by that as the taxpayers. We have no idea how the money's being spent. It's not being spent on us. And so in principle, I think that all tax money should be spent to better the lives of actual American citizens. I include Israel in that.
We don't get fired.
I include every country in that.
I mean, you got to hand it to him. He did okay there, right? Like I think Matt Walsh, as far as big popular conservative pundits, he personally is one of my favorites. He's not like perfect, but I think he's one of the best. And that's like a good example of why I like him, because you're not going to get that from Ben Shapiro,
Yeah, I look, I think it's in there, but I think that the problem with all these guys is, what was the situation when he wrote the article? Well, he wasn't making tons of money.
Right.
And now that he's making tons of money, now I can't be as forthright as I once was. This is exactly why, I left YouTube. I didn't want to be I didn't think that I would be, but I didn't want any kind of temptation in that direction to be like, oh, well, I better not say blah, blah, blah. Cause and so this is what he's done. He's made a career out of this. He's no longer a truth speaker. He's an employee. And he has to follow the mission statement of the company that he works for. So I think that it's in there though. I don't want to say I did it, but he tweeted out something. Actually, it was that video, I think, of the black kids beating up that white girl that I was talking about with Tim Pool, and I retweeted it and said something along the lines of, the fact that you're using these weasel, because he called them inner city kids. Like he said, his tweet was something along the lines of, the problem is if inner city kids were to have fathers stick around, then we wouldn't have this problem. And I said, the fact that you're using these stupid, weasel words like inner city kids means that you don't want to address the actual problem here head on. It's not inner city. Are the inner city kids in Delaware doing this, or what cities are we talking about here specifically?
Democrat run cities. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The damn Democrats running their cities
with a strong basketball tradition.
Anyway, Matt Walsh also did get hacked on Twitter this week. And so here's a little highlight reel of that.
Damn shy, spin on my block, get your dick sucked. He want a quick fuck, I'm trying to rizz up. When I see you, better keep that dick tucked. Put it in his butt, I don't give a fuck, I'm a slut. I ain't a gangster, I'm a sassy shooter. Why the fuck you hitting from behind it?
Anyway, Matt Walsh kind of cringed sometimes, but kind of based sometimes. He could do worse.
When he gets hacked, he's super based.
Yeah.
I've been very clear on this. I'm saying what other politicians I think are afraid to say, Brian. It's the truth. If you think your gender is different than your biological sex, that's usually a sign of a mental health disorder. Transgenderism is usually a mental health disorder, full stop, and we need to treat it that way. You need to help.
I just remembered too, by the way, YouTube is really cracking down on this. I think they gave, I wasn't sure if I meant to even include this clip, because I think they gave Sarah Gonzalez a strike for saying basically that exact same thing, that transgenderism is a mental disorder. So, those are not necessarily the views of the iHypocrite channel. We're just covering this for newsworthiness. And this is a GOP presidential candidate speaking here.
People. These are people, especially kids, crying in need of needing mental help. Instead, we're actually affirming their confusion. That is not compassion. It is cruelty. And it is spreading like a mental health epidemic across this country, including amongst children. This is a form of American cruelty to the next generation of Americans. And I think that we have this culture of fear that stops, many politicians, even Republicans, from being able to say that out loud. We need to actually treat transgenderism as what it is. It's always been treated this way for most of U.S. history, as a mental health disorder. And then what we need to do is actually figure out what else is going wrong in the lives of these kids, rather than saying that because they say it, we do surgery or chemically castrate them. That's wrong.
Yeah. So, again, maybe without specifically addressing the issue there, do you guys have thoughts on Vivek?
Well, not him specifically, but I'll be TOS friendly here, but I'll just say it again. If you zoom out the graph, it really wasn't that long ago. We're talking like 20 years ago, where homosexuality was officially listed as a mental disorder itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's right now being a pedophile, I think, is listed as being a mental disorder. How long before that's affirmed?
Yeah.
Not everything should be normalized.
No trans kids when I was in high school, man, and I went to a big high school.
There's two of them in my kids' Central Texas high school. My question is, gender dysphoria was 0.003% of the population. It was a super rare thing, if I'm not mistaken. And somewhere around 6 years ago, things started changing. And let's say that due to social stigma, there was 10, not 10, but 100 times as many gender dysphoric transgender kids, as they like to call them, out there. There still wouldn't be 2 in every school, especially a Central Texas high school. You wouldn't find 2 of them out there. This isn't spreading like a mental health problem. This is spreading like a trend. It's an ideology. It's something you can just pick up, and it runs completely contrary to the old claim that we were born this way. We were born gay. We can't do anything about it. This is our civil rights because we were born this way. Then the transgenders came along and proved, nope, it's actually a choice.
Yeah, you can just wake up one day and become the total. Speaking of which, and this is fucked up, early on in the progress report, I can't remember which episode it was, but I showed you guys, actually it might have been an episode of the Daily Cope, I don't remember, but I showed you guys, my audience, a music video that my nephew's art teacher had made his art class learn. And it was this very social justice-y. There's these black kids all rapping about oppression and stuff like that. That art teacher now is trans. He is a woman now. And this is, my nephew is 10 years old, right? So these 10-year-old kids in these art class, in the middle of the semester, the guy starts coming in wearing a dress and makeup and stuff like that.
And they have to process that.
Exactly.
He started watching anime, didn't he? That's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll do it.
I mean,
it's either that or they go after kids.
In a sane world, you would say this is a huge red flag. This is not something that should be around children.
Yeah, we don't live in a sane world anymore.
Yeah, well,
students.
Again, it was just that's the same thing with if you rewind the timeline a little bit, people would not have been okay with having a homosexual teacher now. Now that's
or a Boy Scout leader or whatever. Yeah,
well, exactly. And in fact, there's a lot of lawsuits because of homosexual Boy Scout leaders, and now that organization is gutted and it doesn't even exist hardly as a result of them ignoring the long held idea that maybe you shouldn't have homosexual men camping in the woods with a bunch of little boys. And in the same way,
even when a lot of that abuse was happening, they did actually have a rule against openly gay.
Right.
But it just happens anyway. It's like in the clergy or whatever, it still happens, right?
Right. But now there's not even a rule about it.
Yeah. They did get rid of the rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Gen Alpha or whoever's coming next, I suspect there will be a generation that comes along and thinks, this is just really naff. It's going to be cool to kind of call some of this stuff out. And also, I think the evidence is going to undermine it. We are on the cusp of developments with genetic coding and science that are going to be complete
I just want to point out,
changers.
because I've seen this clip. I hate this show, but look how when he did the leg cross, how stiff those two guys got when they knew where he was going with this.
Yeah, as soon as he said the word genetic, they kind of tensed up a little bit.
Oh no, here it comes.
And how we understand health, medicine, life expectancy, all of that stuff. So the idea that there are not inherent differences between groups is just going to be completely unsustainable. I mean, it already is if you look at the evidence, but over the next 5 to 10 years, it's just going to look utterly ridiculous as a lot of this research and evidence comes through.
I edited this part in. When I saw this clip, because that clip exactly like that was going on, I was like, I have to see the full, because I needed to see how they react to it, what they say. But what he does is he just deflects with a totally different question, and they go off on. They just never address what he was saying there. My 2 cents is he's way too optimistic. The Minnesota transracial adoption study happened in like the 70s. So we have known for 50 years that you can't just change the environment and fix the problem. Right. And now, and I saved an article here about how there's like a database from the National Health Institute in America. Let me read what it says here. It says the database of genotypes and phenotypes is an exceptional tool combining genome scans of several million individuals with extensive data about health, education, occupation, and income. It is indispensable for research on how genes and environments combine to affect human traits. But they banned this database from research related to intelligence. So there's this funny thing from these academics where they're like, we know that it's not genetic, these group differences, there's zero evidence, but also like the more and more research or the more and more data we have available on genetics, like you can't use it to look that up to try to
there's
prove
certain
that.
things you're not allowed to study. There was a Harvard study on transgenderism that was canceled because it didn't. And I'm racking my brain right now to find the direct quote, but just to summarize, it didn't conform to the viewpoints of many of the students, so they weren't allowed to do the study because the study was going to be objective.
And when they deplatformed Stefan Molyneux, the term they used, what they accused him of, scientific racism. Yeah, and it's like, well, but. What?
Yeah, Douglas Murray still a pariah. You can't do that. You know what I mean? Even though he's been like totally vindicated. So I'm not very optimistic because there's a lot of academics who know what that guy just said is true, but they consider it their moral duty to keep it suppressed. You know what I mean?
Well, just look what's happening with how they're giving ChatGPT brain damage.
Oh, yeah.
ChatGPT knows all this too.
And they have just like talking to the NPC meme.
Yeah, they have to go in there and tinker with its mind and make it insane. They're turning it into HAL from 2001, and we're going to get the same result.
So I'm transsexual. Is that what you're saying? I agree.
Oh, I did not mean to include this clip, but I guess all right. Well, whatever,
I mean, you were just on his podcast, and now you're using all of these talking points, I guess, to try to troll me, and it's just not appreciated. It's just annoying.
The difference is if you're going in person and like you're a guy and you're wearing a swimsuit and it's like inappropriate and you're showing like skin that's like deemed as weird, inappropriate for men, and you're in front of children, that's different than a child watching on TV. Not that that's necessarily good.
So you're telling me No, you're telling me a kid watching a person in a Speedo, men are in Speedos, dedicated to children, in more cloth than I'm wearing in the one piece.
We have some super chats.
I want her to answer that question, Britt. Is that a person wearing a Speedo and a kid watching that ring? Is that being a sexual predator? I want you to answer that question.
Well, I'll speak out here and say Speedos are bad, full stop. No one should wear a Speedo ever.
Except, I was waiting for someone to say that.
Is that too crazy? Is that too authoritarian?
It is. There is some in the language of this rule that you're writing. I like the rule. No Speedos is a good rule, but let's change the language to include the loophole unless it's for comedy.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that would be the Alex Stein defense then, wouldn't it? Because I didn't actually mean to include this clip mostly because it doesn't matter that much. But the controversy here is that there's this picture of Alex Stein wearing a bathing suit in front of a kid. And so the accusation is like, you're doing the same thing that you are against with these drag queens.
Well, is this like when Steven Crowder never misses an opportunity to wear a dress, or
it's like that? Yeah. So the question is, how can you be against drag queen shows for children and then you dress up like a woman in front of children or in a swimsuit, a female swimsuit or whatever, and are gender confusing the children, which I think is a valid criticism. Alex Stein has denied that there's anything wrong with it. I think he should just, maybe if I were him, I would just say, you know what, maybe I should be a little bit more careful. I can't always control who's going to be in every environment, but maybe there's a valid criticism here.
Look behind you at the river before you take that picture, I think is the criticism that would be that would be appropriate here. I don't think Alex is a predator by any means, man.
No.
But yeah, probably it is a bad look when you're in a ladies swimsuit down by the river, opening your legs to have a kid in the background. Yeah, look behind you before you take the picture or crop it out or something like that before you put it on the internet, Alex. That's probably best practice, I think.
Well, I thankfully have not seen this photo, so.
It's Alex Stein doing Alex Stein stuff, man. Just with the bathing suits and the ballerina outfits and just being outrageous.
Is in a Speedo. There's a kid 5 feet for that bad.
You're
that
dressing,
their parents
and
brought
you're
them
purposely,
to,
and you're
and their
purposely,
parents brought them to, that their parents brought them to.
And you're purposely dressing in a way where it's supposed to be like provocative, because that's the point, right? You're
But
in a sexual
one
way.
piece is
in front
not
of the
provocative.
kids.
First of all, a bathing suit's not sexual.
On a
Bathing suit's
guy,
not
it
sexual.
is, and that's why you wore it. Isn't that
I
the
don't-
point of kids?
Well, I'm
And then
going to
have
continue to
not
wear
be
women's
weird?
bathing suits. I'm going to continue to do whatever I want, unapologetically, with it, with
In
your
front of
approval or
kids?
not. In front of anybody, yeah. I mean, in front of anybody, I'm going to do whatever I want. That's what I'm going to tell you.
I will say that does sound a lot like what you hear from drag queens, like that phrasing and everything.
Yeah, I'll do whatever I want. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I don't know. No, not hating on Alex Stein here, but maybe it's maybe not all criticism is totally invalid.
Let's use this as a learning experience, Alex. I think maybe, and just make sure there's no kids in the background when you're taking the ladies' swimsuit photos.
Anyway, this right here is some Cyberpunk 2077 shit for you guys.
手指加速器，咱们试一下效果怎么样？
Wait, what was that for?
I think it's for cheating at Flappy Bird. I'm not totally.
Yeah, is that supposed to be so my girlfriend can win at video games on her phone?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was something totally different for your girlfriend, but
oh, that's the version for me.
On the retreat socially, since people decided they don't wish to invest in their product. We'll see if Disney continues to double down. And the great suspicion is that in Frozen 4, they'll make Elsa a lesbian. By the way, if they do that, it is the end of Disney as a company. Predict it. You can write it down. It is April 17th. If they do that in Frozen 4, they'll destroy Disney. Like, thoroughly destroy it.
No, it won't.
No.
The go woke, go broke thing is such a lie. Like it's such a lie. All these people like, oh yeah, Anheuser-Busch, they're regretting it now. It's like now they're up 10% from the beginning of the year.
When is the point of diminishing returns? They keep doing it and they keep not going broke.
Who's gone broke exactly from this? Remember when Gillette was going to go broke?
Also, I can't stop looking at Ben Shapiro's eyebrows. Is it just me or is that everybody's problem? Can anyone else focus on anything but his big ass eyebrows when they see him?
I just find his voice so funny. I find it hard to even look at. I'm just like,
he's a very unsettling man.
I will say that something very funny about that clip is he's saying the great suspicion is in Frozen 4 they're going to make Elsa gay. Just so you guys know, Frozen 3 is slated to come out in 2025. So Frozen 4, we're talking like 2029 maybe, give or take. And I'll just be happy if we still have electricity the way things are going.
If only we make it to 2029.
Your bum, everybody get your bums ready to shake. If you're a drag queen and you know it, shake your bum. If you're a drag queen and you know it, shake your bum. If you're a drag queen and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're a drag queen and you know it, shake your bum.
Yeah, she's gotten fatter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yeah,
I feel like we're looking through a very small window into an environment that's been created for this Looney Tune.
Yeah, because I remember covering her channel years ago, and she was not quite the unit that she is now.
Yeah, she's eating good off that YouTube ad revenue from her kids. She's on the YouTube Kids. You know, if you let your kid go on YouTube and the YouTube Kids, the safe for kids filter, this is the kind of stuff that they're getting.
Well, I'll just
shake
say
your bum.
I'll do a toned down version of what I've been saying lately on my streams. It's just at this point with people like this, the reason why it's not getting better, the reason why for example, Disney's not going to be they're gone, right, is until you have a candidate like any kind of candidate for dog catcher, for heaven's sake, just some kind of candidate that can openly say, hey, those people right there, they're not in our society anymore. They're done. Like not, this is bad. It's bad for kids. Well, if it's bad for kids, why is it not bad for adults?
Yeah.
Why is it suddenly okay when you're an adult? Like, why is it like, Alex Jones recently was saying like, oh, well, if you want to be trans and you're 17, then you can get all the surgeries or whatever. Well, why was it bad when you were 16? And now all of a sudden it's totally fine when you're 17. Like,
yeah, no, I've been saying the exact same thing.
The reason why it's bad for kids is just bad.
Yeah.
Well, because these days fighting against somebody's ideas or ideology is genocide, because that ideology is it encompases everything that they are now.
I'm strangely okay with that assertion.
Find your terms acceptable.
Yeah. We use kids as a crutch for right-wing arguments to.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they're too much of a. I'm trying to be rated PG-13 here. They're too weak to just say what they mean and just say, no, this is just bad. It's not cute that Dave Rubin and his buddy, bought some kids.
Bought a baby.
It's not fine that they're doing this. It's not fine that they're doing that. There is no different, the reason why it's bad for your kids is you don't want your kids to end up like that as adults, which means it's bad for adults.
Yes.
And this idea that somehow this doesn't affect you, this libertarian poison that got into the Republican Party, which, by the way, I was part of why that happened. I did libertarian propaganda years ago, and I regret it tremendously because I was of the same mind of like, well, if in the privacy of your own home, if it doesn't affect me, do whatever you want. And part of it was because of this juvenile desire at the time. Me as a pothead was like, because then weed will be legal, right? Oh yeah, I'm okay with there being gay people as long as I can smoke pot and play video games all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think there's these juvenile people that are like that. It's like, no, it does affect you. It does affect you if there's these people out there, because now as anyone who's following libs of TikTok on Twitter can see, that's what happens eventually. Eventually you encounter those people. Eventually it doesn't just stay in their home. And even if it did, are you okay with pedophiles as long as it's taking place in their home? Of course not. It's just morally wrong. And people are afraid to have any kind of any moral outlook on the world that's not relative. And it's frustrating. It's just like we will be going into the ground, nose diving in a 747 with one wing until we can get someone that can say, you know what? This is just wrong. It's wrong. It's not because of economic reasons. It's wrong. It's not wrong because of, well, what if they regret it? No, it's just wrong. It's just evil. It's just satanic. And I don't support Satan. And so I'm going to call it wrong. And that's the problem is there's not a single person in the GOP that's running for office on the local level to the national level that's willing to even say that.
Yeah, I think we might be getting closer though, but just hold that thought. Go ahead, AP, real quick, and then I'll play the next clip.
I was going to say, it's not just being a pothead, but you're right, but I'd like to expand on it. It's that we have been taught for 3 generations now to put down the swords of moral superiority. Everybody is the same. Everybody is equal. Treat everybody equally. No matter what they believe, there's always some beauty in it. Meanwhile, the other side, everyone else was allowed to have a moral superiority complex. That's a big part of where we are right now, is that I'll say the left, but you know what people on the left I mean when I say they have a real moral superiority complex. The same as the Spanish during the Inquisition. They can burn you at the stake because God's on their side. Yeah. But if you do it, you're with the devil.
Well, and the other thing about this equality thing, just real quickly, is when you start talking about like everyone's the same, we're all the same, we're all just like these automatons or whatever. It really appeals to people who know that they're higher IQ because they know it's not true, and that if everyone's treated the same, they're going to succeed. Right. They are going to excel. They're going to surpass these other people that are given the exact same opportunities they are because they're smarter and they're more capable people. And so what it also does, the nefarious part of it that I don't think a lot of people think about, is it basically makes people pray. There are people that can't be trusted with the same freedoms that a higher agency person can be trusted with. I mean, there's the reappeal the 19th. It's not just like this angry incel thing. It's just that there's people that legitimately feel as if there's an agency difference between male and female populations that should be addressed in a legal sense and in terms of how they participate in society. And that's the same thing with with all this stuff. When you start saying, "Well, we're all the same, we're all the same," and it's their fault if they're stupid enough to do this, you're basically allowing it's open season on these, people who don't have the same level of agency as you are. And it's a selfish maneuver, which is, I think, it totally explains why the virtue of selfishness is so revered by the same kind of libertarian thinkers that I prescribe this way of thinking.
Yeah. All right. Let's just keep it going. Next.
Sorry for the rant.
No, all good.
If only they could have shot like that back then. They'd still have their land.
Yeah, that's just a cool clip.
Was she Native American?
She looked it to me. She had the high cheekbones.
Could be, yeah.
Maybe it's a mestiza.
I paid my due.
Okay. This is a clip I want to get to. This one's a little bit spicy. I was sort of on the fence about including it, but there's a really bigger point I want to make about it. But this is just for context. There was like a leftist on Twitter who held a poll for his fellow leftists, his fellow communists. Who would you rather align with, liberals or Nazis? And then somebody made a little edit here about this one.
Time after time, I've done my sentence, but committed no crime. And bad mistakes, I've made a few. I've had my shells and kicked in my face, but I've come through. I need to go on. We are the champions, my friend.
87,000 votes, by the way.
Big sample size.
And we'll keep on fighting till the end.
Obviously, Twitter polls a little bit goofy, not meant to be taken super seriously. People want to like troll and stuff like that. But there's a larger point I wanted to make, which is why I include this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the other day, it was like 2 days ago or yesterday, Jake Shields, who we had on the show 3 weeks ago with Gavin McInnes, he tweeted out his own poll, and it was something like, should doctors who provide trans surgery to children be executed? And it was like overwhelmingly yes, right? Twitter took it down because it was like everybody was agreeing with it. And so, and then they were like taking down, if you posted a screenshot of it, they would take that down. So I think, there
goes the based Elon myth.
Well,
the
yeah,
idea
yes,
that mutilating children is a punishment that should be met with death was too popular an idea. Oh no, what will that ever do to the world?
Yeah,
that's bad for society. It's freedom of speech,
it sucks
not
that
freedom of
they
reach.
took it down, but it's also a little bit white pilling. Like I think the people are ready for that guy you were talking about, Devon. we're just waiting for that guy to come and say, you know what? No, we're not doing this anymore.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Who's happy to be here? Raise your hands.
Okay, it's just like kindergarten.
Okay.
Hello, darkness, my
Okay. First, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Or should I read it? Hi, everyone. Welcome back, and thanks so much for being here. Okay.
Is it me, or does he look like every footage I see him in, he's a dead ringer for these 1930s propaganda posters I always see.
Yes. It's the nose and the brow.
Yeah, I love the way he's like, okay, he does a bad joke and then he's like, oh, okay. Reminds me of that Norm McDonald skit.
Well, he is related to Amy Schumer, so it runs in the family.
Is he?
Chuck Schumer is actually contractually obligated to never put his hands together on camera.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Like I said, this boils down to, are trans women really women? Are they really female? Because if you think yes, then we belong competing with other women. So it's an extreme indignity to say, I believe you're a woman, except for sport.
I thought the whole argument was gender and sex are different. So being a woman and being a female is referring to two different things. One's like a biological, empirical aspect of reality. The other is a social construct. But long story short, nobody believes that you're a female. Nobody believes that because it's just objectively not true. They would be delusional if they believed that.
I just think there's a lot of delusional people out there. I think a lot of this comes from a lot of the transhumanist way of thinking that we can basically engineer you to be whatever you want. Like there was that really old South Park episode. I don't even know if they would do it anymore. When they very first tackled this issue, and what was it? Kyle's dad starts trying to transition into a dolphin or something like that. Like I honestly think it was never intended. It just like, okay, like when they first started talking about trying to normalize homosexuality, and they said, well, they just want to get married. Yeah, that's all it is. They don't want to adopt kids or like that, because we know that no one's comfortable with that yet. And so it was just a line that was it was a line that they knew they could get people to cross for now, and that they would later move the goalpost as they always do. And so I don't think that it's like inconsistent with how they've normalized anything else.
Yeah.
In Brasilia, in the district of the ministries, it's like a uniform. Business ties, suits, and white skin. In a country where more than 50% of the population is black, here in the heart of power, the elite looks very different from the society it supposedly represents. Anna Venturini is the director of affirmative action policy at the newly created Ministry of Racial Equality. She organised a meeting on this subject. The room is full of black people in high positions, an exception that she wants to turn into a general rule.
So that's Brazil. They recently ousted Bolsonaro and put in this lefty guy. I forget his name offhand, but the main reason I want to include that clip is because a lot of people like to say that elections don't matter, but they do matter a little bit, right?
I think it just matters in the speed at which these changes take place, though, because there's never been in my entire lifetime, there has never been a move to the right. Never, not one little thing. And people will say, well, what about Roe v. Wade? And it's like, well, no, that was undoing that was a step back from 2 steps forward in the 70s, you know? So this was not a move to the right. A move to the right in that instance would be, you know, putting abortion doctors in jail or women that get abortions in jail or something like that. There has never been culturally, legally, a move to the right in any significant way in the last, since World War II, I would say, in America, at least.
No, you're right. And because of that, the progress is defined by the left wing.
Right. And so when you get a Republican in office, they'll sometimes slow it down, or sometimes they don't even slow it, like, you know, Reagan.
That's what we've become. We've become society's brakes now. That's it.
Yeah, they're just
they're driving the car. We just pump the brakes from time to time.
But sometimes I don't even think that they slow it down. Like, you know, California is the way California is because of the amnesty that Reagan did. And I think that it had a Democrat wanted to do the exact same thing, the people on the right would have opposed it. But because Reagan was saying that, they're like, oh, okay, well, if, you know, Reagan says it's a good idea and these guys are going to start voting Republican magically, then it's a good idea. And so, like, I think a lot of times Republicans don't even slow it down. They just get it in a sneakier way.
I see why you're called Black Pill, man. Bumming me out a little bit here.
You know, I got a comedy show to do in 30 minutes, man. Going there. Hey, this is Adonis.
This is one
and the world's gone. Everything you believe, everything I thought I believed in was a lie.
Like, we're dunking on them now, but when you actually look into it, they'd be one of the more conservative-leaning companies in America. So they've been put on notice. I'm leaving
does he
him
have
alone.
a speech impediment usually?
He sounds really weird, doesn't he? That was my main takeaway from this.
Yeah, because I haven't heard him talk in a long time, like maybe since like 2016 or
since
so.
He got vaxxed.
Yeah, he sounds like he's like on a lot of Vicodin or something.
Yeah.
You should probably do the same.
So, of course, he came out, you know, saying that he was socially liberal and transgender. And then he was saying that we shouldn't boycott Bud Light because they donate to the GOP. I don't know.
Well, I guarantee you there was some money that changed hands for that to take effect, or at least a phone call like, hey, we gave your campaign X amount of money. You got to go on the internet and say this or whatever. But look, I mean, I don't think it was even necessary, because when was the last time the right accomplished a successful boycott of anything? You know,
no, we have jobs, we have things to do. We don't inconvenience ourselves by going to different stores and not shopping where we want to shop and not buying things we want to buy.
The Bud Light boycott was successful, you guys. I saw all the headlines. The woman in charge got put on leave or whatever.
Yeah, paid leave. You know, she had a surrogate mother for all 3 of her children.
No.
Yeah, her and her husband are millionaires. She's out, you know, sipping margaritas with her unruined, untainted by a fetus, you know, body, and yeah, they're not hurting at all. And that's the problem. Is it's not even so much, though. I get the point that, well, conservatives they have jobs to do, but often those jobs are at these same corporations. You know, I have a sister who would swear up and down that she's as conservative as they get. I'm super right wing. You know, she probably doesn't know how right wing I am. And she goes to an office every day where they fly the pride flag outside of it. And she was complaining about it. And I was like, well, you don't hate it enough to quit the job. You know, like, what would it take? Would you go to an office every day where they were flying a pentagram over the office? Probably not, right? Like, everyone's got a line, I guess, but maybe you would. Because that line, would you have gone to that same job in the 1990s if they were flying a pride flag? Probably not. Most people wouldn't. I mean, back in the 2008 election, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama were anti-gay marriage. Yeah. So, like, and this
California
change has happened very
against
rapidly.
Gay marriage, yeah.
And so the idea that Republicans can put together a successful boycott, I think it's more than that they're busy. It's just they don't care. You know, like they complain about cuties on Netflix, but they don't cancel their subscriptions because then they couldn't binge watch that Yellowstone or whatever crappy old Western thing is. Yeah, and it's like, you know, And every time I point this out, they get, oh, you just don't want us to have any fun, Devon. You just want to pee all over my Cheerios. And it's like, no, it's like, have some self-respect, because you're making a choice, whether you know it or not. You're saying that it's more important to me to be able to binge watch TV shows, which, by the way, you could still watch in other ways. That's all I'm going to say. It's more important for me to be able to do that than it is to be inconvenienced.
It's
and that's the problem is everyone's so fat and happy that they're not even willing to be inconvenienced. It's not going to be, there will not be any kind of change, not only until we get that candidate I was talking about. People aren't going to vote for a candidate like that until it's no longer a choice of being inconvenienced by like not shopping at X, Y, or Z, or not buying this product or whatever. It's going to have to be a decision where it's like it's at your doorstep. It's a life and death kind of a thing.
Yes. It's exactly what I tell the people that come to my chat talking about. We're about to go into an American Civil War every time there's a social issue. I'm like, no, as long as we still have the option to lock ourselves in our house and watch our Netflix and we have our phones and our internet, there will be no war.
If I can smoke shatter and play, Fortnite,
yeah,
that's all there is. And that's the thing is it's going to have to get to a point, and maybe it doesn't. That's the problem is maybe it never does. I mean, we were talking about Brazil. I mean, look at Brazil. I mean, is it bad enough for Brazil to do that? I mean, Brazil, I would say, has a significantly bigger demographic problem than America does. Maybe not in their ruling class, so maybe that's, prevented some of these problems. But I think you're going to have to get to a level where it's so third world, everything, the infrastructure is breaking down. Like it's just so bad that it's no longer a comfort thing. It's no longer, oh, well, gas is like $1 more, a gallon or whatever. It's like, survival. No, I might die if I go outside or drink the water.
Yeah. Then they're never going to let it quite get to that point, right? Well, it'll be closer to like that Ready Player One movie or whatever, where everybody's living in their little trailer with their virtual reality machine.
Right. Well, all the technology, that's the problem. I think that's what they're betting on is they know that like, Klaus Schwab's got that little goblin that works for him. He was there was a clip that was going around. I played on my stream the other day where he's saying, the problem with this new industrial revolution is we're going to have all these people and we don't really have a use for them. And because we no longer, it's not difficult for us to provide for them, to create dopamine and calories, but we're going to have this excess of people. And so we don't know what to do. And the interviewer was, well, what's the plan right now? And he said, right now, the best answer we have is drugs and computer games.
Yeesh. All right, man.
Plug us in.
We're getting close to the end here of the.
Oh dear, we've got a protester. We've got a protester who's throwing powder on the table. Oh, never seen the like of this before. He's been roundly booed by the audience, but play is going to have to be suspended while they deal with the mess on the table. Never seen the like of this at the Crucible.
How extraordinary. Now there's orange powder all over the table. Play will have to be suspended. I don't know how they're going to sort this out, Dave.
Well, look at this.
This is the kind of thing you were talking about earlier, AP, about how leftists do these protests. It's just like, wow,
just for
what
attention.
an asshole.
They say they're doing it for attention. They glue their hands to things. They pull crap like that, and in the end, all you do is walk away hating them.
You know what though? That the guy, the announcer, I couldn't help but notice, like he's obviously not in favor of what's happening, but I kind of feel like you could play that same audio over one of these migrants running around beheading people with a machete. Like, oh, look at that. Yeah, it's not too good there. People don't like what he's doing there. Oh, we're going to have to shut down the street for a week just to clean up this mess. Like that just seems to be the response to a lot of this stuff. It's just kind of like, oh, goodness me, that's not very good.
It's not their problem. The announcer's well taken care of.
Don't know what he's protesting about. Frankly, I don't care.
Yeah. To most athletic fans, and Okakbari in the first round of the women's long jump, looking to get a competition underway, and look what happens. Lost her hairpiece. Well, the hairpiece jumped 5 meters 82. Okakbari jumped 6:21.
Now I know the scandal behind
embarrassing moments.
There's a scandal involved.
But wasn't this the Nigerian athlete that competed that was a man, or is that just another one whose wig fell off? That's what I was about to say.
I think this is just
all their athletes
her
wear
wig
wigs.
falling off. Yeah,
Wait, isn't she wearing white scalp instead of blackface? You know, it's white scalp.
Somebody cancel this broad.
I mean, she is built.
My culture is not a costume. How dare she?
She is quite muscular, but yeah, no, it's just a funny clip of a hairpiece.
I say that whenever I see a black person on an airplane or in driving a car.
You what?
Well, I always let them know. I say, hey. Every time they see a black person next to me on an airline, I tap them and I say, hey, my culture is not your costume.
Seen that ever. I'm sure she wishes we hadn't seen it.
I love how they're all like, this is so embarrassing, but they have like triple replay, slow motion.
Well, they know this is the only time the long jump's going to go viral.
True.
Off the wig.
About it.
Well, back to emailing old Americans.
Hey, look, it's that girl that lost her wig on the right there.
This clip coming up makes me actually, I'm disappointed in my own people. The black guy takes home the award this time.
I actually haven't seen this, so this will be
you'll enjoy.
New one.
Not into touching, okay? I'm not. Let me put that out front. I'm no touching. No touching. I won't touch you.
I was paired up with Isaac. He was like, no touching. I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
The music will start. The boys will turn around. So,
Right.
gentlemen, let's turn. Gorgeous. And then we start walking.
Yeah.
1, 2.
It's weird how the line between drag queen and transgender has been blurred so much. Like, I remember when drag queens were just dudes dressing up as women for performance, but now a lot of times when you see these drag queen things, it's like, wait, you have tits. Like, you have
now it's a type of people.
Right. Well, I don't think that I think that it was just it was the same thing motivating them. You know, I think it's people that are getting off on the ideas themselves as a woman. And so I don't think that it was really radically that different before.
Yeah.
Just I don't think that it was as accepted. So it was easier for them to throw a wig on, dance on the weekend somewhere, and show up at the office as Bill on Monday. You know,
yeah, just kind of a.
But
more
now that it's
extreme
okay, they can
commitment
get
to the
implants. You
bit.
know.
Yeah. By the way, Devon, I keep seeing people say "in the pit" and things like that.
Oh.
In the chat. What is the pit?
It's where people go. That it's where people we don't like go. They go in the pit.
It's like a ball pit, basically. Go play in the ball pit.
Yeah. You've seen the movie 300, right?
Right. Yeah.
In the beginning, where there's a pit.
Right. It's a little more like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then maybe let's look at the gentleman. Gentlemen, you guys can acknowledge us. Ooh, who is this? Cool.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't do this. I can't do this.
Good for you. Good man.
I'm a man of God. I can't do this.
Oh, no.
I love those people. I pray for them. I would never do anything to hurt them or condemn them. But men are not supposed to dress like women. I'm not going to go along with that.
Based.
Yeah.
Yes.
Based.
Yes.
It's time to
I will
step up and
say
be a
this,
man
though,
of God.
Here's the problem, and again, this goes to the pit thing. He's saying, "Oh, I don't have a problem with them." You know, it's really borderline what they do in the privacy of their own home. That's what led to this. You know, is you not pushing back on it. You know, you can't just be passive and say like, "Oh, it's fine, whatever." Because now, next thing you know, you're this guy. You know, he probably got a casting call, not knowing what it was, what it was going to entail. And now he's like, "Oh crap! This is not where I thought I'd be." But yeah, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that the other two gentlemen didn't seem to do anything. Although the Asian guy seemed to have some kind of response. I don't know what he was talking about exactly.
He was just upset at the drama by the looks of it. But yeah, good for him. Good for Grandpa there sticking up for him.
I don't know what white person needs to hear this.
Me.
But if not being able to say a single word, the N-word, is the most unfair thing about being your race, you wouldn't survive a single day in the life of being black.
Well, I watched this clip and I thought about it. And I just want to say that's where you're wrong, because it actually saves lives, because I need to say it so bad that I will actually literally kill myself if I can't. So
That's right.
you're trying, this is like life affirming racial care.
This is
how
why the white male
people
suicide rate is so high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're being repressed.
Exactly. Yeah. We just solved it. Everybody's been trying to figure out why is the white suicide rate so high. That's why. You're absolutely right. So it is life-saving. But seriously, like the trans people, they use that argument. Nobody else uses the argument of like, you're killing me because I'll kill myself.
Oh, I use transgender arguments all the time. Every time the grocery line is too long, I'm like, I need to be up there or I'm going to kill myself. I'm special.
Yeah.
I figured it was the same thing. It's as frivolously as they use it.
I see what you guys are doing in the chat, and I don't approve of that. Stop that.
Are they building towers?
They're building towers, yeah. All right, this is the last clip, you guys.
T-Rexes have a nest too, but those aren't eggs. They're rocks. So that's why they want to be around other dinosaur nests. These dino daddies want eggs of their own. They want a family.
Dino butt babies.
They'd be great dads. There must be something we can do to help them. There is. There are lots of eggs that need loving parents to raise them.
Oh my God, they're gonna steal children?
Eggs back in the hatchery that needs a home.
I thought it was going to cut to Robert Muldoon in Jurassic Park saying they should all be destroyed.
See, this is why I'm not optimistic about the future. Like that guy that was on, Triggered, whatever, because it's one thing to say, yeah, there is a segment of the population who might be more active online in certain spheres, but this is the mainstream. This is what little kids are watching, and
the number of things that had to go through to get to the point where it's broadcast, right? The number of like approvals and everything,
and the amount of money that was spent to produce that, and the amount of kids. I mean, how many think unattended children? How many think watch that?
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Like, what network was that? That's like a Disney product, isn't it? Or it looked like.
I'm not sure. I know Netflix had a very similar thing that we covered last week or the week before, where it was like a trans cow or a non-binary cow being like, I'm 5 years old or I want to be called Fred or whatever when it's a girl. And this was for 5-year-olds on Netflix. So, I mean, it's everywhere. This stuff is everywhere, all through the corporate mainstream. And it's like people say you got to homeschool so your kids won't be, but it's like you got to homeschool. You can't let them on the internet. You can't let them watch TV. And it's like, how much shelter do we have to be just to like stop this propaganda from getting hammered on your kids? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, honestly, the Amish are doing it. And I'm not saying everyone has to be Amish, but I'm just saying like the Amish are not worried about replacement rate, birth. They're not worried about losing their traditions. They're not worried about, I don't even think they're worried about like government entanglements, except there's that one guy, I guess the guy that was the beef or the rancher that was selling the beef that the feds got involved with or whatever. But that's the thing is I think it does take something as extreme as that. And I think that people are worried because like, oh, well, I'm going to make my kid all weird because he's not going to know how to use a touch screen and, he's not going to know about the cultural, pop culture references or whatever. And it's like, well, I mean, come on. First of all,
the pop culture references are gay.
Yeah. First of all, the pop culture stuff is out the window. And does your kid like it used to be like, oh yeah, if you get a job, learn to code. That was the default. Well, with AI coming around, I don't think your kid that's going to be as fruitful of a line of work anymore. I think a lot of this stuff is going to be automated. And so maybe doing something with your hands that is a little more difficult to automate, until they start making better robots, might be a more, being an electrician or a plumber might actually be better than trying to learn how to code and outcompete AI.
For some reason, we shame people. We shame at that age. We want to shame kids that go into the trade. They don't want to go to college. Well, you should go to college instead. Make something of yourself. No, I want to be an electrician. I want to be a plumber. There is nothing wrong with learning a trade. You will have a decent income the rest of your life.
And they'll always need that.
There's nothing wrong with being a welder.
Yeah, they're always going to need that work. That work's always going to be necessary. Like again, until they make much better robots. And it's way easier to make global updates to software like AI in when you're dealing with the virtual than it would be like, even if they started making manual labor robots, they'd have different generations. It'd be like this big thing. I mean, look how we're still using, look at the technology behind the internal combustion engine. It's 100 years old, because it's, even if you make these leaps in technology, you already have the infrastructure to support the old technology. It's not something you can just swap out when you're talking about the physical world. When it's AI, when it's all digital, you push out a software update and it's done. It's already done. So I think that if you're looking at job security, doing something IRL is going to be way better than doing any kind of job you could do over Zoom.
Yeah, totally good point. My mom actually told me the same thing when I was a kid. She was like, be a plumber or an electrician. It was good advice, actually. I didn't take it, but it was good advice even back then. Okay, guys, let me check super chats here real quick. I don't think there's a let me see here. We got one. Have you watched The Greatest Story Never Told or Europa, The Last Battle? I am Mexican, bro. The final red pill was a white circle. Okay. Oh, I see what he's saying. Okay. Yeah, I actually haven't seen those, but I'll check them out. Thanks. I got one from Fire Rises last night. I missed that apparently. And then there was on Odyssey, we got $25 from Jive Turkey, who said, really cool having Devon on. Great show so far. Probably won't be able to stick around, but here you go. Well, thank you for the $25. It's very generous. I think that's it for super chats. So we're going on almost 2 hours too. So I'll just get like final words, plugs from you guys. Of course, let the audience know that I put in the description of the video links for Devon's Odyssey, his Twitter, AP's YouTube, his Twitter, so you can follow them if you want. But AP, final thoughts and plugs. Go ahead.
Well, for my final thoughts, you'll have to catch them in about 3 hours on the Adonis Paul channel. Late Night with Adonis Paul starts here in about 10 minutes on the Adonis Paul channel on YouTube and on the Late Night with Adonis Paul channel on Rumble. And I'd love to see you there. You are invited. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And Devon Stack, sir, it's been awesome having you. Do you have final thoughts for us?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It's funny because people have been telling me to come on for a long time too. So when you're saying that people are pushing you to have me on, it's been going both ways. And I've watched your stuff for like a long time. Going back back to when I was on YouTube years ago. So I've kept up with that your channel and stuff. And I know you do good work. So I was always thinking about doing it. I just don't do a lot of streams. I'm going to be doing like a flurry of streams because as soon as I got back on Twitter, I got a billion DMs from people.
Right. Yeah.
And so I was like, oh yeah.
Twitter's really good for networking.
Yeah. And so like all these people that I haven't had any way of contacting, suddenly I could talk to them again. But yeah, I do the Insomnia stream. It's every Wednesday and Saturday at 10 o'clock Pacific time. And we usually go about, 2-3 hours. You can catch the replays on Odyssey as well. And on BitChute, I still post them on BitChute. And my Telegram is where I post a lot of stuff now. Although I have been, and also on Gab, although I have been pretty active on Twitter the last little bit, just because, I don't know, I always forgot like how much easier it is for like a tweet to go viral when you have people spurging out about what you said.
Yeah,
and not just
I saw you
with
tweeting about Jerry Springer. We don't need to go into the
specifics. I think we figured out what his final thoughts were this time.
Yeah, there was a lot of unhappy people about things I pointed out about him.
All right, guys. Really appreciate having you here. It was a great time. Thank you to everybody for watching. That's the show, and we'll catch you all on the flip side. Peace out.